Welcome back. Well, as global headlines on Monday predicted a U.S. suspension of South Africa from the African Growth and Opportunity Act, Agoa, after it missed its December 31 deadline to resolve a dispute on trade levies. The South African government has now called a ministerial cluster press briefing to give assurance that the negotiations could still be saved. That briefing took place yesterday, and at the heart of this issue is the matter around disagreements concerning terms of the poultry business. We're joined by Kevin Lovell. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Poultry South Africa. It's such a pleasure to have you with us. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning and welcome to all your, good morning to all the viewers.
Okay, so for those who perhaps are still on holiday mode and are wondering, what's this all about, Agoa and chicken and all of that, in about 30 seconds or so, paint the picture. What is the problem at the moment? Where's the deadlock?
Well, where it really is this is a problem about our relationship with the United States. And we need new relationships with new trade blocks so that we can get out of our colonial past and stop trading mostly exclusively with the European Union. And that's what this is all about. And that's why it's so important, is we want more trading partners. We want Agoa. Agoa is good for South Africa. And we're now battling with the US approach to South Africa. We won't lose the whole of Agoa. We'll lose the agricultural benefits of Agoa if President Obama can't weigh up and say, well, are these chicken people telling me the whole story, or is our relationship with South Africa more important than chickens? Now, although I'm a chicken man, for South Africa that is, I think our relationship as a country with the USA is much more important than chickens or pork or beef.
We need this particular benefit of Agoa because the exporters will then have the discounted prices. But at the same time, chicken farmers are complaining that if we let the US bring in the poultry and the beef and the other products that they want to unabated, it will flood the economy and also bring some of them under. So I want to know from you, are the Americans being bullies?
The Americans are using all the tools they have at their disposal, and that's perfectly normal. Anybody would. And yes, it will have a negative effect on the South African poultry industry, but the country will be better off than if we had not agreed to allow a limited quantity, it's 65,000 tons of dumped chicken to come to South Africa. In the case of the beef and the pork, it's not about restrictions on volumes, it's about safety issues. And that's where we've got stuck as a country, is that we're saying that animal health and human health have to come up tops. And why is it a problem for the US? Because the US is a sophisticated economy. The primary problem is for all three of these meats that they don't produce these products for us. These are surplus products that they don't want to eat for various reasons, the beef, the pork, and the chicken. And it goes into a storage shed, and somebody here wants to buy it, and then they grab it out the storage and say, off it goes to Durban. Therefore, it's not made for us. And so that's why they want us to change our standards to suit their standards, so it's easier for them to sell to us.
But it's a health risk.
It's animal and human health, depending on the specific disease.
I'm hearing salmonella being thrown about as well.
Salmonella affects both people and animals. And our standards are based on the European Union and the International Standards Organization. In other words, we don't have funny standards in South Africa. We have good standards. And at the press conference, Minister Motsoaledi had to ask one journalist to repeat the question, which was, why are we not lowering our standards? And he said, normally I hear from you journalists that we're supposed to increase our standards. And that's the balance, is how do we maintain decent standards? And our pork standards are decent. Our beef standards are decent. Our poultry standards are decent. What's the problem? We need more time to negotiate this with the USA so that they can understand that our standards are good and reasonable and fair. And we've actually managed, by the way, to... Well, it's not signed yet, but on the pork front, the Americans have accepted that our expectations are reasonable. And I'm hopeful that on the beef, the concession that we've made, which is still gives us sufficient security for animal health, will be acceptable. I hope that on the salmonella, they will accept that our standards are decent. Realistically, even if they don't change the standards, only a few shipments a year will come up positive. It's not going to seriously impact the ability of the US to export. It will have a tiny, tiny possible impact.
Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. We have run out of time, but because this matter is still pending, I think we should have you back in studio once we find out how the US is going to react to the fact that we have missed that deadline, and whether or not they will come to the negotiation table and see if we can find an amicable solution that will benefit all the stakeholders there.
What everybody should know, these are all the Americans' deadlines, none of them are ours. So we're doing our best.
I'm going to reserve my rights to comment on this. I'm an objective news anchor who is just bringing you the story. So, Kevin, thank you so much for that. But I think there's a lot that can be said about this story. We'll chat about it all once we have any conclusive indication as to what the US will say about the fact that we missed the deadline. So let's now turn our attention to the golf.